You're listening to Quantum Conversations with Karen Curry Parker. Join us as we explore new frontiers in consciousness, science, and evolution. And now here's your host, Karen Curry Parker.
The power of the heart. Science now reveals that the heart contains within it its own kind of brain. There is a wisdom and power in the heart that we've spoken into, but often discounted because of its soft, gentle, and illogical nature. But the heart is not soft or illogical, nor is it a wisdom that is to be discounted if we're going to save the world. Research shows that our hearts bind and connect us, and that our heart rates and rhythms are synchronized and calibrated by the magnetic field of the earth. We are bound together, like it or not, by our hearts and connected together to the heart of the earth. When we activate the wisdom of the heart, not only do we increase our connection to each other, we can reduce stress, activate our immune system, and even tap into a greater creative capacity, which allows us to be more aware of revolutionary answers that can solve the challenges facing humanity today. But to do that, we have to learn to return to our hearts. We have to override our logical conditioning and amplify the power of love in our lives. Only then will we gain access to a wisdom and brilliance that will take us beyond what our minds perceive as possible. Hi, my name is Karen Curry Parker, and I'm excited to welcome you to Quantum Conversations. This week we're going to be talking to Daniel Mitel. Daniel Mitel is a world traveling master who helps people understand their intimate connection to their inner selves. He's the first person in the world in modern times to explain and define the origin of the ancient heart imagery system. Heart imagery is an ancient system that originates from ancient Tibetan, Sumerian, and Vedic spiritual mystery schools. He's also an international lecturer and a martial arts master, and he's dedicated to inspiring the world to move from violence to peace and from anger to love. Daniel is also a world-renowned meditation teacher who is known as Mom, Master of Meditation, and has not only taught adults meditation, but has also shared meditation and imagery exercises with thousands of children, many of whom struggled with ADD and ADHD and other diagnoses. He reports that many of these children don't actually have a disorder at all, but just needed a little help in remembering who they are and their spiritual purpose in the world. Welcome, Daniel. I'm excited to talk to you.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you. I'm really, really honored to be here and to speak with you and all the listeners all over the world.
Good. So I want to just drop right into talking about heart imagery. I actually have read your heart imagery book on the plane recently and was following along with the little meditations. And I will tell you, I have done TM for 33 years, transcendental meditation for 33 years. And the experience that I had with these meditations was so beautiful and frankly so quick. I thought, wow, I've been sitting on this purple pillow for 33 years. I could have just done this and it would have made a heck of a lot of difference. So talk to me a little bit about what exactly is heart imagery.
Years ago, I was with the Tibetan masters. I was in north of Tibet, actually. It was a very interesting time for me. I didn't really wanted to stay much there, but I ended up almost 4 years working with two great masters there, with Karma Dorje and Tenzin Dorje. And they told me about the system. They said a sort of grandfather of the whole spiritual system on this planet. They called it in the Sanskrit language, the exact translation would be the visualization and imagery of the heart, which I just called it very simple, heart imagery. Now, it is very simple in a sense that, and it makes sense because like 40,000 years ago, when the first race we call Adamic race or indigo race indigo from the third eye, of course. Well, this half human, half divine team that were here for the first time, they were just working with one simple technique, imagery, in a sense that they would go into the heart, and in the heart they will put a specific image, and because the heart has the power to change everything around us, that image would become reality. Now, of course, for me it came as a surprise in a sense that I used imagery when I was teaching Tai Chi, for example. I used imagery when I was working with children to help them to visualize light or to visualize specific type of waves of energy that were coming and helping them. But I never imagined that imagery is so deep. And actually in Sumerian tablets, it's written that, and this was written almost 20,000 years ago, they are talking there about a god called Enlil, E-N-I-L, Enlil, and they said, Enlil asked us to close our eyes. And after that, he gave us an image, and suddenly all of us, we were healed by any sickness or in our bodies. And this is very powerful. That means the heart and an image in the heart can influence the physical, the mental, and the emotional bodies. And that's really, really important. Now, interesting, heart imagery is not working as a normal meditation system in a sense that, for example, when I teach Kriya Yoga, the more you stay in Kriya Yoga, the better, where imagery is exactly the opposite. An exercise in imagery takes 20 seconds or 30 seconds. The shortest, the more powerful, because the mind, the ego, the thoughts don't have time to kick in. So you are working just actually with the heart and with your right side of the brain, the imagination, the intuition. So that would be the short story of heart imagery.
Well, and I think it's really fascinating because one of the things we look at a lot in quantum conversations is the marriage between ancient esoteric wisdom and modern science. And I think, in the last 20 years, we've seen an enormous amount of science evolve around the heart and the magnetic qualities of the heart and the importance of heart resonance in terms of helping people tap into creativity and even something simple as stress relief or relaxation. You talk a lot about there's an intelligence in the heart that's very different than the intelligence in the mind. Tell me a little bit about the heart intelligence, and what do you mean by that?
Well, as you said, there is a lot of talk and a lot of stuff written about this subject. Somehow I was, since I was a child, I was really, really attracted by the energy of the heart. I remember my mom used to tell me, I used to take one of this plastic thing, and it's like one of these small thing when you take the things outside, then you put water in, and I used to sit on it, and basically the only thing I was doing, and my mom said I was like 1 year and a half or 2 years old, I was just starting to walk and run. I was just closing my eyes, and in my meditation now, when I go back, I see that the only thing I was doing, I was just connected all my energy with a source inside of my heart, literally in the physical heart. So I was just dropping down into the heart. It's like I was swimming in the ocean, and it would open something there inside, and suddenly I was in a complete, like another universe. And I started to realize something is going on, and we see the modern science. We see HeartMath Institute. We are talking about this electromagnetic field of the heart that is around between 4 and 6 feet around us, which is huge. And this is what they can measure, actually. I was talking with Dranvolo, my beloved friend and mentor, Dranvolo Melchizedek, and he was telling me it might be up to 27 feet, which means, and that's huge. Basically, you and if we think at Mother Earth, electromagnetic field, basically I can, from my heart, through this electromagnetic field, I can send a message to Mother Earth, and you can take this message, and I am in London, and you are there in USA. So basically, you can get a message without any other devices, without anything else, and that's huge. This is a future communication way, and I really believe that that's going to happen very, very soon.
It's interesting that you say that, because I, taking this in a little bit of a different direction, but in the same thought, many years ago when the internet first came out, I always felt that the internet was training wheels, like it was teaching us to get into alignment with the energy of fast and instant communication, and that ultimately we would move to a time when we could communicate quickly and instantly without the technology. And I have 8 children. I have a 7-year-old, and the rest of them are all young adults. And I always felt like my children at the time, this was in the 90s, my children at the time really already carried within them sort of this instant ability to communicate. In fact, one of my children didn't speak until he was 4 years old. And when he was born, he never spoke. And I never noticed that he wasn't actually speaking with his mouth, because we had such a deeply intuitive connection. I literally thought he was speaking until he turned about 2. And people started to tell me, "Aren't you worried about him not talking?" And I was looking at them thinking, "You guys are crazy. He's incredibly, verbal." And then I realized he literally wasn't speaking. So I'm taking a little bit of a turn here, because we don't talk about this often, and we used to talk about this a lot. We used to talk about the indigo children and the rainbow children and, the crystal children. And I don't hear us talking about that so much. And I don't hear us talking about emerging consciousness and the evolution of not just consciousness, but intuition and a different way of working and connecting in the world. And that the children are, and oftentimes now a lot of the millennials, these original indigo children, are carrying this vibration. What's happening with these kids, especially now as they're emerging into adulthood, and how are they managing with the shifts and changes happening on the planet?
Well, that's a really good question. I have worked, and I'm continuously working with a lot of children who clearly they have a completely different way of seeing things that me and you were seeing when we were like them, right? And there is this new generation now of teenagers that obviously they were part of the indigo or rainbow or crystal children, and when they are coming to the workshops, it's just when I see their energy around them, their eyes, and the way how they are flowing like water, You can feel them. Their true essence is completely different, because let's face it, me, you, our generation, I like to call it a generation of sacrifice. We were born in male energy. And now, especially after 2009, 10, 11, and 12, when we started to move to feminine energy, basically we have to change completely, me and you, the DNA. But these children, these teenagers, they are already in the feminine energy. Their DNA, their way of thinking is completely different. Like I have some of my friends, they told me, "Daniel, you remember when we were children, we needed to be in silence to do our homework and all this stuff. And my daughter, she is listening to 5 radios. She's eating 5 types of foods, and her speed in doing homework," and I'm talking about heavy mathematics and physics, not jokes, She is faster than I was in that complete silence. So these children, they can perform now in a completely different way. It's beyond any reality that we experience when we were like them. And I was in Norway recently in one of the biggest college in Europe, and I was talking there with a few hundreds of teenagers. They were between 14 and 18 years old. It was crazy, even the teachers that invited me, they were looking at me. They start asking, okay, can you explain us what's going on after we die? And what's going on after we do that and that? And I was surprised to see it, when you are 14, 15, 16, the way how deep they were going in really important subject, in not just mathematics and physics. They really wanted to know something beyond that. It's there, and we don't give it to them.
It's interesting. Again, I'm thinking about the young people who I know and the level of consciousness that they have. And I'll tell you that in our family, as I said, I have 7 young adults, and actually my 7-year-old is this way as well. They're all vegetarian and vegan, and some of them are even passionately vegan. Like they actually, one of my daughters writes vegan cookbooks for millennials and markets them on the internet while she travels around the country in her van that she's converted into this camper that she and her husband live in. But talk to me about the consciousness of these kids and how they eat, because I think, and I don't know if you know, or if you've even thought about that, but I keep thinking about, it's so fascinating to me that they're even making different food choices that, create interesting challenges for those of us who cook for them. So
one of the things that happened to me when I was teaching in Moscow a few years ago. I have done a meditation there, and suddenly I was surprised. In the middle of meditation, we received one of the really, really good master. I'm really connected with this great master, Anastasia from Siberia. She came there in her energy, and one of the things she told us, we were a group there we were people from all over the world, and I was just facilitator, so I don't take any credit. But Anastasia specifically, she came to explain us that the way how we are eating is completely wrong. And she said that the new generation, the children, they can give us lesson on this matter. And I asked, what do you mean by that? And she said, well, first, you should not eat at specific times. You have like 3 times per day. You should have a big table filled with, apples and cheese and whatever you want to eat, right? And let your body to bring you to what you need to eat in that moment, in that time of the day. Don't just create for you specific times when you want to eat. Let your body to tell you, what do you need? Maybe you need blueberries. Maybe you need a specific tea. And for me, that was really interesting. I'm vegan. Actually, since I was 9, I became vegetarian. And already 8-9 years ago, I started to be vegan. And it's a big difference for me to feel my body, especially my liver and my spleen, that they completely change the energy on my kidneys, the engine of the body. And I'm black belt 5th dan in the karate tradition, and I can easily run like 10 or 15K. But since I'm vegan, I at least double my energy. And I started to understand why children, they behave how they behave, and we should not force them drink this milk or do that, because intuitively they know exactly how to eat. And we should not force them to go to a fast food, or because we like to go to a fast food, or we should not force them to eat something because we like that thing. It's very simple. The Mother Nature, Mother Earth is giving us exactly what we need at that moment of the day. And they know that.
Mm. So I have an interesting question for parents, because this is, again, something I bump up against I think, in a shifting world where even the way in which we raise children is changing and shifting. What can a parent do to help and support themselves make the paradigm shift to adopt a mindset where you give children more directive over themselves? And let me just clarify what I'm saying by this. I think that because the collective so deeply embraces things like traditional schooling, or, you have to have protein and meat and cheese to grow, these kinds of belief systems that we have. As a parent, I think a lot of parents are very afraid of hurting their children, of making a bad choice, of maybe not giving their children the education or the food that society thinks is necessary, and that maybe they have a collective belief system around it being necessary. Where do you find the courage as a parent to make that shift in your paradigm around parenting, to give your children more autonomy over themselves in a world that maybe isn't keeping pace with that consciousness yet, or it feels like maybe it's not keeping pace yet with that level of consciousness?
Well, it's very simple. Inside of themselves. The problem is the parents, and I am a parent. I have two children, and I was also teaching in Montessori schools in Canada. Thousands of children. I was teaching them Tai Chi and meditation for a couple of years. And I work with thousands of children all over the world, and I'm still working with them. And me being or talking or being in front of a group of children or a child, for me, it's something really mystic experience. Why? They are stronger than us. We have to face it. Our experience, it's a life experience, but their experience is a cosmic experience. They are directly connected with the universe. And we don't understand that. And because we don't understand that, as parents, we are trying exactly, as you said, to impose our belief patterns and what our parents were teaching us and so on. And it's not working. That's coming from male energy. We are in a completely different energy. The energy now it's flowing, is completely different. And the only thing that the parents should do is them to take a leap of faith. They should start to do something. They should start first to see what's going on if I try to be vegetarian or vegan, because it's the meat. It's not about the meat that is not about just we sacrifice that being, that animal, but that meat contains an emotional thing that the animal had it, and it's coming in your emotional body. So the first thing a parent has to do is to understand, to read, not to be an ignorant, let me put it in a different way, why these things are happening. We have to upgrade ourselves day by day, because the universe is changing second by second. It's not what was happening 1,000 years ago. Now, let me give you an example. We had, like in 500 years, like maybe 10 or 15 solar flares. Now we have 2 or 3 solar flares per day. Mm-hmm. And this is huge, because all this is changing completely the electromagnetic field of the Earth automatically, because we are part of the Earth, our electromagnetic field. So basically, in one day, you have at least 3 or 4 upgrades in your DNA. And we do not understand that. So the parents should really go through, I would say maybe an workshop. Maybe they should start doing themselves something, because we have to face it. The children are giving us lessons. For us, it's difficult to teach children. It's almost impossible.
So I have one last question for you, and this is again just based on things that my listeners have been telling me and just things I've been watching. It seems to me, and granted, I'm in the United States right now, but it seems to me that in the last 5-6 months, that there has been an extreme sense of polarization and tension, and consequently, I think, especially in people who are working to stay awake and conscious and connected to their hearts, a sense of fear and even loss of control over what's happening on the planet right now. Can you speak to that for a minute? And most importantly, can you give people something that they can do to help them manage either the fear or the tension or the anxiety that they may be experiencing as a result of global events?
Well, it's obviously, and I was talking with some really good masters all over the world, and we really believe, all of us, that this is a sort of the last pathetic try of male energy to keep the power. We have to face it. We are in feminine energy. The feminine energy does not have a schedule, does not have a list. It's flowing. We have to let go all the past and to embrace the now, the moment. And this is difficult. And this is coming with belief patterns that are there in our, especially mental body. It's coming with fears that are in our emotional body. And all this together, they influence our physical body. So we get in this trap. The only advice is, do not listen to the voices inside of you. None of the voices inside of you come from the inner self, from your higher self. All voices come from the mind. When all voices are absent, your higher self started to speak. So you have to be in a complete silence. And you'll go to that direction that in a natural way you have to go. And it doesn't come in words. It doesn't come in, it's just a silent indication, a silent direction, And it will be absolutely impossible to find that direction if you continuously listen to these voices. Inside of us now, there are hundreds of us. It's not just one. All these voices, all these things that are happening are making us crazy. The news and all, and we really have to stop. The word is stop. I'm teaching in heart imagery, one of this technique is called stop. Stop 3, 4, 5 times per day. Whatever you do, you are in front of the laptop, you are watching TV, you are outside, just stop and breathe. Take like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 deep breath inside of you and reconnect with you who you really are. And stop thinking. Just look there at that flower, at that tree, at that grass, at that child that plays. Just do that. Stay on that bench, do nothing. And suddenly you will have that total spontaneity, that all the memories will be gone. And your actions will be real responses, not reactions. Because this is what we do now. The reactions. Reactions comes from the mind. Responses come from inside, from the innermost core, right? And this is a big difference. It's a huge difference between these two.
Powerful. Thank you so much. You can find more information about Daniel's work on his website, danielmitel.com. And you can also find his books, Journeys into the Heart, This Now is Eternity, and Heart Imagery, A Path to Enlightenment, on his website, as well as on Amazon and other book distributors. So thank you so much, Daniel, for joining us. Thank you for your wisdom and just for reminding us about the truth of who we really are.
Yes, thank you, Karen. It was and it is a big honor to be here. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And thank you for all what you are doing for the world. I'm really, really happy to speak with you. I'm proud to be here speaking with you and all the listeners out there.
Thank you. I'm Karen Curry Parker. This is Quantum Conversations, and I wish you all a heart-centered, heart-based, love-surrounded week. Daniel Mitel invites us to literally take a journey into our hearts. We can't live in our hearts if we're not in the heart of who we are. I actually followed Daniel's heart imagery meditation from his book, Journeys into the Heart, and saw myself standing inside my physical heart. As I felt the pink pulsing walls around me, I was blown away by the love available inside my own heart. Just one little visual journey into my heart, and my entire perspective on the world changed. Just one little visual journey into my heart, and I had a powerful touchstone experience of what it feels like to literally be in my heart. The love that resides in our hearts is our most creative energy. It's also the energy that connects us to each other. You cannot be in your heart and feel the rich, unconditional nature of true love without experiencing, along with it, tremendous compassion for your divine brothers and sisters. If the magnetic field of the earth synchronizes and connects us through the beating of our hearts, it stands to reason that compassion is the way our hearts speak to each other. It is compassion that reminds us of the true value of life and the vitality of the existence of each and every one of us. It is compassion that reminds us that we're all in this together. There is no me, only we, when we stand in the heart of who we truly are. If you'd like to discover more about the heart of who you truly are, please visit our Quantum Conversations Facebook page or visit our website, www.quantumalignmentsystem.com, where you can receive your free quantum human design chart and report. You'll also get access to great articles and free resources, including our free weekly global alignment meditation to help you remember how important you are to the cosmic unfolding of the universe. Thank you for joining me for Quantum Conversations. I'm Karen Curry Parker, connecting with you from my heart to yours.
Thanks for listening to Quantum Conversations with Karen Curry Parker. For more information, visit joyfulmission.com.